The Outermost House, A Year of Life on the Great Beach of Cape Cod by Henry Beston. Chapter 6, Lanterns on the Beach, Section 2. To understand this great outer beach, to appreciate its atmosphere, its feel, one must have a sense of it as the scene of wreck and elemental drama. Tales and legends of the great disasters fill no inconsiderable niche in the Cape mind. Older folk will tell you of the Jason, of how she struck near Pamut in a gale of winter rain, and of how the breakers flung the solitary survivor on the midnight beach. Others will tell of the tragic Castania and the frozen men who were taken off while the snow flurries obscure the February sun. Go about in the cottages, and you may sit in a chair taken from one great wreck, and at a table taken from another. The cat purring at your feet may be himself a rescued mariner. When the Coast Guards returned to the Castania on the quiet morning after the wreck, they found a gray cat calmly waiting for them in the dead captain's cabin, and a chilled canary hunched up upon his perch. The bird died of the bitter cold while being taken ashore in a lifeboat. Just fell off, but the cat left a dynasty to carry on his name. Cape Codders have often been humorously reproached for their attitude toward wrecks. On this coast, as on every other in the old isolated days, a wreck was treasure trove, a free gift of the sea. Even today, the usable part of a wreck are liable to melt away in a curious manner. There is no real looting. In fact, public opinion on the Cape is decidedly against such a practice, for it offends the local sense of decency. The gathering of the Moncler's laths during the wreck really upset many people. They did not like it here. When men are lost on the beach, the whole Cape takes it very much to heart, talks about it, mules over it. When men are saved, there is no place where they are treated with greater hospitality and kindness. Cape folks have never been wreckers in the European sense of that dark word. Their first thought has always been of the shipwrecked man. 40 years ago, a winter nor'easter flung the schooner J.H. Eels on the outer bar of Eastham. Waterlogged, leaking, and weighed down with a cargo of railroad iron, the ship remained on the outer bar, snow flurries hiding her now and then through the furious winter day. So swift and powerful were the alongshore currents that a surfboat could not approach the ship, and so far offshore had she stranded that the life-saving gun would not carry. All Eastham was on the beach, the women as well as the boys and men, and all day long villagers and surfmen fought to reach the vessel. They were powerless, however, and when darkness and continuing snow closed the winter day, they had to watch the Eels fading away in the squalls, her dying men still clinging to the shrouds. To give these men heart, to let them know themselves remembered, the villagers that night built great fires of driftwood on the beach. Men and women shook the thin snow and sand from ancient wreckage and tossed it on a wind-crazed heap of flame. All night long they fed these pyres. With the slow return of day, it was seen that 2 of the men had already died and fallen overboard. At 10 o'clock that morning, the storm having somewhat abated, the survivors were pluckily taken off by a lone tug, which approached the wreck from seaward. Every once in a while, the rusty shell-fouled iron uncovers, and above it, the yellow-green waters of the outer bar turn blue-black in a strike of summer sun. 18th century pirates, stately British merchantmen of the mid-Victorian years, whaling brigs, Salem East Indian traders, Gloucester fishermen, and a whole host of the forgotten 19th century schooners. All these have strewn this beach with broken spars and dead. Why this history of wreck and storm? Because the outer cape stands a full 30 miles out in the North Atlantic, and because its shelterless eastern beaches flank the New Englanders' ocean lanes for 50 miles. When a real nor'easter blows, howling landward through the winter night over 1,000 miles of gray, tormented seas, all shipping off the cape must pass the cape or strand. In the darkness and scream of the storm, in the beat of the endless, icy, crystalline snow, rigging freezes, sails freeze and tear. Of a sudden, the long booming undertone of the surf sounds under the lee bow. A moment's drift, the feel of surf twisting the keel of the vessel, then a jarring, thundering crash and the upward drive of the bar. Stranded vessels soon begin to break up. Wrecks drag and pound on the shoals. The waves thunder inboard. Decks splinter and crack like wooden glass. Timbers part, and iron rods bend over like candles in a heat. Ships may strand here in dull weather or fog. The coast guards then work at full speed to get them off before a surf rises. A coast guard cutter comes to aid. A few mornings ago, when I walked the beach to Nauset Station, I followed close along the dune wall to see the wreckage uncovered since the storm. North of the forecastle, along a broken mile, the new seaward cliff of the dunes stands at least 20 feet west of the former rim, and all the old wreckage, once buried up in the region washed away, is now lying on the beach or tumbling out of the wall. Being young, the 12-foot cliff is still sheer, and the wreckage lies solidly packed in its side like fruits in a sliced pudding. In one place, some 10 feet of a schooner's mast is jutting from the wall like a cannon from a fortress. In another, the sand is crumbling away from the fragments of a ship's boat. In another appears the speckled and musty yellow corner of a door. Root tendrils of beach grass, whitish and fine-spun as open nerves, have grown in the crumbled and sand-eroded crevices. Some of this wreckage is centuries old. High course tides carry debris up the beach. Sand and the dunes move down to claim it. Presently, beach grass is growing tall in sand wedged between the ship's splintered ribs and its buried keel. A few laths from the Montclair are whitening on the beach. 2 miles down the beach, its tiny flag streaming seaward in the endless wind, stands Nauset Station, chimneys, weathered roof, and cupola watchtower just visible above the dunes.